Hey there, so I'm back. Thought I'd do a second collection video of my Lenormand or Lenormand. And so these are all the decks that I have in my Lenormand collection. We were looking at about the same number of decks as I had for my playing card decks. And so I've been collecting Lenormand decks for quite a while. And many of them are pretty, they're like mass market, so you can, they're readily available, you can get them. There might be some unique ones there that I kind of sought out myself, but yeah, let's get started. I definitely like collecting Lenormand. Lenormand's very to the point, simple, and versatile to use with other decks and other systems, so let's go ahead and get into it. So the first one I'm going to start with is my Bluebird Lenormand deck here. And I think this was maybe one of the first decks that I had gotten. I like that it had the playing card association on the card, but it also had this very detailed and beautiful art, and also a little synopsis in poem form here in the upper right hand corner. So it's definitely something unique, kind of inspires something different each time you use Lenormand. And if you use it with other systems like Tarot or Oracle or Thoth for some people, then add some versatility. I love the images. I love that it's also kind of a training deck as well. Has that old-fashioned feel. I also like that this is a decent size, so you can see the detail of the images pretty well. They seem quite immersive, so that you're not squinting your eyes to look at them or anything like that. So definitely a nice deck to have to start a collection. Bluebird Lenormand is this deck here. It's printed by US Game Systems. That's the backs there. Another Lenormand deck that I have is the Dreaming Way Lenormand. I know there is a tarot deck of the same theme, but I never really took to the tarot deck, just more so the Lenormand. I have edged mine in this reddish pinkish color, kind of matches the background here, but these are the backs. Super quirky and fun. I think that's partly this deck's appeal. It's pretty much borderless, which makes it really immersive, and it's colorful. It's semi-modern, but a little bit it's got a fantasy vibe to it, which makes it really neat. It feels very today and relatable, but it's just got that like little quirkiness that makes it so interesting. The illustrations are beautiful, very detailed, intricate, and fun. And there are some decks out there where you might question, like, what is this actually an image of? But I feel like this deck can do quirky, fun fantasy in a very clear and poignant way. It's concise. There's not a lot of questioning what you're seeing. But I mean, for Coffin, yeah, it's so funny. This what, tuna can or sardine can? I mean, it's hilarious. It's just very comical. And look at that. I don't know. I'm a sucker for decks with anchors in them. I have no idea why. Stars. Tree. I mean, wow. This deck feels abundant. It kind of reminds me of the tarot deck I've shown on the channel before. I think it's called Visions of Life. And Visions of Life Tarot has that same quirky feel to it. So if you like the quirkiness of this, you would like Visions of Life. Although I will say that Visions of Life is a tarot oracle deck system combined. Just so you're aware, only the majors are titled and the minors are not. Quite open for interpretation there. And then you can download a book which has really meaty descriptions of each. But anyways, back to this deck. I just mentioned it because I could see this deck paired with that pretty well. Yeah, so it definitely does Lenormand, just very different. It's got this soft color palette. Feels like there's a lot of wateryness to it. Hilarious. Love this. That's the Dreaming Way Lenormand. And it's a good size. It's got a lot of great information here. It's also got like a little quote for each card, which is cool. And I think, does this show, maybe it's not, oh yeah, it does. Yeah, so it kind of tells you how to read with Lenormand on the back. So that's super helpful as well. And it's shuffleable. So the next deck is the Rana George Lenormand. This deck, gorgeous. Very gorgeous. I mean, this is that luxe feeling, and I like decks that tend to have that luxe feeling once in a while. It's like a ooh sparkly moment for decks. It's got a magnetic box. These are the backs of the cards. It's such a good deal for a mass market deck, and again, the images. You have the playing card association, and you have these very intricate borders, which I love. So I think what I'll do is I'll put them, because they're small enough, I can probably put them out. Does that help? Probably not. Oh, bad ideas, bad ideas. So this has a very, it's a different color palette, different tone, more mid-tones, so it's got a very warm vibe to it. I wouldn't call it soft. It's a little bit more earthy, more deserty, islandy, a little bit more exotic feel to it. So I really like this deck for the luxeness, and the images are unique. It's still very clear. There's no questioning what is this image portraying. And just in case you don't know, the number is very clear too, which I noticed some Lenormand decks don't have the clear numbers at the top. A very opulent deck. Such a beautiful deck, right? There's no other Lenormand deck like it. I don't even know if I've seen a tarot deck that's like it. It's gorgeous. So that's the Rana George Lenormand. It's got a pretty big meaty book. It's got like tons of information in it, even down to possible combinations of cards and interpretations, so that if you did want to stick to book meaning, it has a lot of that. This is probably a really good training deck for anyone who's starting out. And next I'm mentioning the 1889 Lenormand Oracle. when I found out about this deck, I went to go purchase it, and they didn't have any of the full-size versions available. Luckily, I was able to snag a mini size. This is the smallest deck I own. And a lot of people like small decks, but for me, yeah, there is such a thing as too small for me, but otherwise, if I didn't purchase this deck, I wouldn't have this deck, and it's too beautiful not to have. I mean, wow, talk about ornate, but done in a very, very gorgeous way. So, I mean, these are quite small. These are, let's see, I mean, next to my stones, I don't know if you can see how small that is. It's smaller than any of my other Lenormand decks. So I really don't own a deck this small. It's so small that you can't riffle shuffle it. But look at the pictures. And if this deck ever came out in a full size, I would definitely snatch it up and probably rehome this to somebody who's really into small decks. I wouldn't call this a micro. It's in between a micro and like a mini deck. It's so enchanting. Takes you to a different world. A different time. And I just love the faint silhouettes in the background. It does give it a spooky, eerie feeling, more of a haunting feeling, and I like that. And I love decks that do really good moons. I mean, look at that. Wow. Vintage engagement ring. So pretty. And so it's very tiny, and then it's got this tiny book on top of it with just some very simple interpretations and then information on how to use the cards. And then this is like a shortcut for that if you didn't want to take out the whole book. So yeah. Well, I'm so glad I have this 1889 Lenormand Oracle, but if I could get it in a bigger size, I would, but I am so happy to have it. And now for something that matches the background again. Rustic Roots Lenormand. I purchased this on Etsy, I think. And God, I forgot where it came from. I forgot when I purchased it, but walking in the woods, I felt in touch with the universe and with the spirit of the universe. Alice Walker. And so this is by W. Witherspoon. So it's definitely a private production indie deck. I don't know if anybody knows about this deck. It's got some great information here that's more from the first person interpretation. So the creator of this deck kind of interpreted it in her own way. His or her own way, I'm sorry. These are the backs here. It's standard kind of like slick playing card, not linen finish. It's definitely a good size. It's shuffleable. I like the simplicity of this deck. It's got a very like woodsy feel to it. It feels very rustic. Like it's taking me back to some earthy, dirty, not dirty, but just earthy ground, I guess. So fun to see this. I remember camping in this kind of trailer. Yeah, it feels kind of like a camp deck, doesn't it? Like if you went away to camp and you take this Lenormand with you. I mean, as a kid growing up, it'd be a fun deck to have, and it's definitely a fun deck to have now. It's a very muted color palette. I did build a snowman last winter, hoping to build another one this winter. Isn't this deck fun? It's just really different. It's quite modern. Love maple leaves. I have a maple leaf tattooed behind my ear. You don't actually see mice, but it's a mice trap. Quite clever. Cabin stories. Yeah, that's the feel this deck has. Definitely more of a cabin feel. And the house I live in could be perceived as a cabin. So this is the Rustic Roots Lenormand. It's a great little deck, super different. Following that one, to keep it in the same color palette, I have the Sawyer's Lenormand. I bought this even before I knew who Jamie Sawyer was. I got to see her at the Northwest Tarot Symposium, which is cool. And she had a workshop there, which was fun. And then everything clicked. Oh, that's who she is. Oh, those are all her decks, and yada yada. And so I've had this for many years now. And I really love her artwork. It's vibrant. It just wakes you up. It's fun. It's very different. I definitely would like one of her tarot decks. However, I can't really decide on the ones there. So I'm still like debating which one I would want. And her oracle decks are very nice as well. But this I just fell in love with right when I saw it. It's got a dapper feel to it, even though it's got all these vibrant colors going on. Her art is quite enchanting. Like, wow, could you make a clover any more vivid? It feels like it's lifting off of the card. So yeah, this is Jamie Sawyer's Lenormand is what it's called. It's got this kind of semi-shiny cardstock. It's not linen or anything, but it is shuffleable, really easy to shuffle. Really nice feel in your hand. Doesn't come with a book. And that's Jamie Sawyer there. Right there. Yeah, so it's definitely a great deck to have. Okay, so along with my Golden Thread Tarot, I have a Golden Thread Lenormand. And in past videos, I've mentioned my Golden Thread Tarot, how much I love it. The minimalistic style, and the luxe feel of this deck. It comes with a little accordion book that's like a cheat sheet with quick meanings. This one is just like the Golden Thread Tarot, in that it still has that luxe feel to it. I want to say they were probably one of the first ones to come out with a deck that had this more minimalistic style with this luxe feeling to it. And that's Labyrinthos. So I definitely have a few decks and books by this publisher. And I think this comes out on camera. So I'll have to tilt it a certain way so you can see it. I'd say this deck totally matches my personality. So it's not just a clover. I mean, you have a whole scene here to embellish from if you wanted to. And the feeling of the ominous clouds, you get that from the rain or sleet even. It has a sleet feel to it. Look at that bear book. And the cards, you know, I believe they may be of a plastic. I've never looked to confirm what the actual material is. It's definitely like a slippery feeling, but not like slipping all over the place. But if you were to shuffle them, you know, they're the types that could fly everywhere. This dog looks like my dog. That's probably the thing I was just like, no, I have to have this deck. It's too perfect. This is the stars here. Wow, it's actually shimmering. Here's the sun. Coffin. Stork. Cross. Little fish. Way or path. Fox. Yes, 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 yes. Over and over. Golden thread, Lenormand. Okay, now for Pixie's Astounding Lenormand. So this comes in a tin can. Also comes with a nifty little book. It's actually a really great book for the size too. These are the backs. And this is definitely, you compare with something of Pixie's tarot cards artwork. I'm sorry, I'm getting all jumbled, but you know what I mean. It's done in the same style, same color palette. Definitely corresponds with RWS with Pixie's artwork decks very well. And you know, it's kind of cool because it refreshes the images of those decks, seeing something a little bit different. It's like a different view. It's a great size. Here's pomegranate. Yeah, so it's a beautiful little Lenormand deck. You can kind of tell it's not really similar to other decks I own. The other decks tend to be more like bold in coloration, but I just definitely wanted something that touched a little bit with original artwork of this style. So this definitely does that. Okay, I mentioned this in a last video. This is my newest Lenormand here, the Slavic Folklore Lenormand. Another quirky Lenormand deck. These are the backs here. Kind of like some tarot decks I've seen before. I can't think of the name, but it's kind of like spooky. It's still bold. It's very enchanting. And it's also got these little keywords at the bottom. So it makes reading Lenormand very easy without having to refer to a book if you don't want to. I mean, this is kind of like a very it's a unique interpretation, but it's limited. You know, it's not super in depth, but it is kind of unique. It does it differently. This has like a steampunk vibe to it. Just love the artwork. It's got a storybook enchanting vibe to it. You know, it's a little bit different. It's just different. I like decks that do things different. Like this doll is kind of a little bit spooky, but I think it's part of its charm. So, yeah, it's a really, really lovely deck. It's my newest edition, and addition, not edition, and really glad I have this. So that's the Slavic Folklore Lenormand by Fena Laura. You can get this on Etsy. Alright, what kind of collector would I be if I didn't have an Anna K. Lenormand? I purchased this, I think, at the same time as I purchased the Anna K. Tarot. She's got a very distinct art style, which is why I like her stuff. She's got a decent sized book here, flip book, lots of information. These are the backs. Her artwork feels very surreal and realistic at the same time. So blending surrealism and realism at the same time. It has like kind of a busy feel, but not in a way that's like overdone. Because there's a lot of like texture to it. There's a lot of layers. It's a little dark, but it doesn't feel depressing or ominous. See this heart glowing. Gorgeous. I think I love collecting Lenormand decks because despite the number of mountains you can see, or the number of clouds, or the number of dogs, like each one is illustrated very differently, using different colors, different moods, different scenes, and it keeps it fresh, keeps using Lenormand very fresh. Sorry if you can hear my heater. It's keeping me warm. Look at this library. Oh my god. I'd love to have a library like that. Wow, so quaint. Very naturey. Even the water. It's beautiful. So this is the Anna K. Lenormand. I mean, often you just see the coffin. I mean, this is the entire grave from like a first-person view. If that doesn't give you chills or make you shudder, I don't know what deck will. But yeah, this one's very beautifully done. Okay, I've shown this in my last video. This is my little itty bitty boo Lenormand, and this is also one that I just got recently, and it's so quirky. It's printed on linen cardstock. This person here, let's see, Lorene Music, has her own YouTube channel where she was showing this deck, and I asked her if I could get it. Normally I think it's a print download situation, but you can ask to pay to have her print it, and so she did. I'm glad she did. It's done so beautifully in watercolor. It looks like most of the other decks you've seen, not very many of the other Lenormand decks are done in watercolor, so it makes this one quite unique, very organic, and super fun. This one's great with the itty bitty, the itty bitty. This one's great with the Boo Tarot. God, I love the Boo Tarot. Never thought that would be my favorite tarot deck, but it's still trending. My favorites. And so this is just very childlike, allows you to play. It's got all sorts of animals in it. Ghosts are so cute. It's really adorable. So yeah, that's the Itty Bitty Boo Tarot. I'm sorry, Itty Bitty Boo, wait. Yeah, I need to figure that out. Itty Bitty Boo Lenormand. I'd love to see a tarot though of this art. Itty Bitty Boo Lenormand. Yes, that's correct. Okay, I've also shown this one before, the Lua Lenormand by Marie Bento. She's got tons of decks available in very different aesthetics, but no matter what, she does beautiful work. I just happen to be attracted to this specific Lenormand, and also the matching tarot deck to this has a very ancestral feel to it. It's done in black and white, although in a minimal color palette. It's got very detailed images, and I think the minimal color palette of this definitely works for the detailed images, because you notice so much more detail in that sense. If this was colored, you know, it could come off a little busy, but I think this was just executed so well, and I love it. The backs are fun, and it also has the playing card association at the bottom. And this deck does not come with a book, which I'm okay with that. I just really enjoy the artwork. I really enjoy the Baroque borders to this. One of the few decks that feature diversity. Does not have keywords or titles on it, so you know, if you're unsure what the card is depicting, you do have the playing card association and the number here, so you could always look it up if need be. I think I had to do that for one card, but generally most of the cards are pretty clear what we're looking at. And it comes with many ladies and many gentlemen to choose from, even a couple different child cards. There's like 3 different child cards you can choose from. I love that variety and ability to kind of create your own deck with the cards that you'd like to have in them. So it's definitely more than your standard number of cards for Lenormand. What's cool when they include multiple ladies and gentlemen is that you can include them all if you want to, and then they're just representing different people in your lives as well. She looks like the creator to me. I've mentioned that before in a video. So yeah, such a beautiful deck. That's the Lua Lenormand by Marie Bento. I went through all my Lenormand decks, and I think I have 12 Lenormand decks. So I actually have one more playing card deck than I do Lenormand. But this would make 13. This is not a Lenormand deck. It's an astrology deck by Tina Gong. I love her work. I love her book. I think she puts out awesome stuff of quality. Comes with this little accordion book here of the zodiac signs, strengths and weaknesses of each sign listed, also the planets as well. So it's pretty nifty, to the point, which is great. Not a lot of jargon for people who are not looking to go that in depth. Maybe this is just getting your feet wet a little. It's gilded in this beautiful gold gilding here, and the backs, it's kind of like that marble look to it. This has got a very limited palette, and the card is like semi-smooth matte. It's easy to shuffle. It's a good size. It's not too small. I like it. It feels a little bit like, like you could pair it with the Aquarian Tarot. I think would be a good pairing for this. And you know, this is a deck that you would layer your readings with. Not sure that I would use this as standalone, but it's definitely great if you just want to add another layer to it. Again, the guidebook is not like a full, chunky, informative guidebook, so it's got very limited information. So I'm not sure that this would be a deck that you can learn from, although familiarize yourself with, yes, definitely, but it doesn't have like too in-depth of information. Now there is an app that I think has the deck on the app, and then you could probably learn from the app. I do that with my Golden Thread, and then I also have Seventh Sphere. Seventh Sphere is another tarot deck that I have, I think. Well, I'm getting confused, but anyways, those are on the app, and you can actually learn and look at the meanings of each card and even test yourself. There's like exercises on there to test yourself. So yeah, this is not a Lenormand, but it's just something different, and it's like kind of one of the only kind that I have that it's not Oracle, it's not Tarot, it's not Lenormand. Maybe it's like more like my Moonology deck, which is an Oracle deck. So it's kind of in its own category, and that's why I've included that here. So with this deck makes 13, which is the same number as same number of playing card decks that I have. All right, so yeah, beautiful. Okay, so that's all my Lenormand decks. Thank you for being here and watching and motivating me to make more content. I truly appreciate it. So just like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. Yeah, until next video, bye.